Good, good. This is my third time here, I think. Yeah, third. My first time here was kind of a little bit iffy. I'm sitting down at a basketball game here. I'll make it more intense for you. Sitting down at a basketball game like this, just chilling my mom's business. All of a sudden, I hear two girls go. I hear him again. I look beside and I see these two girls going. I'm like, oh Lord. So one of them comes up. She's like, oh my gosh, my friend thinks you're so cute. And I said, oh, who is he? She went, you mean she? Well then. So she comes over, and so they both try to come over, try to flirt with me. I'm like, I gotta get these two girls off my back. I'm like, let me see what I can do. Just going through, she goes, and I said, hey, girls, y'all think this guy's hot? Let me tell you what, their mouths dropped like Joe in the Ark. Let me tell you what. They go over here, they're like, oh my gosh, are you gay? I'm like, no, I'm queer. And she's like, oh, so you're straight. I'm like, never mind, we're done. So, but this is not the first time this has happened. My favorite part is when I'm in Dallas, Texas at a gay bar, and this straight girl comes up to me and she goes, oh my gosh, I'm just so glad there's a straight guy here at this gay bar. And I said, where? You know how that went. She's like, bah. It gets pretty bad when girls have tears in their eyes. It gets pretty bad. It's pretty bad. But no, the weird part is you see a lot, how many of y'all go to gay bars or gay clubs or gay coffee shops, anything like that? You see a lot of straight girls now coming to gay bars now, especially this one up here, her name's Ashley Clark. She comes to gay bars more than all the gay guys. But she's an important asset to the LGBTQ community because she is one of the biggest allies that I've ever seen in my entire life. Something that we will talk about today. But anyway, the other things that we'll talk about are in athletics as well. And so the biggest question I got that my teammates told me one time, they said, Nathan, we have a question for you. Okay, what's up? They said, do you ever you know? I'm like, no, I don't. Like, do you ever look at us like more than bros? Number one, don't ever say that. Number two, y'all ain't that good looking. And number three, I could steal your girlfriend if you wanted to. I could steal yours, yours, and yours. And all the girlfriends are going whole entire time. But the biggest one I ever gotten when I came out to my teammates was this one. From a little bitty, one of my teammates from a little bitty small town had never met a gay person, anybody from the LGBTQ community at all. And he decides, he's like, how can you even be gay and play basketball? I was like, well, I mean, the same way that you can be straight and play basketball. It's the same thing. And it's really funny that the other things we're going to talk about is like, everybody thinks cheerleading is a feminine sport. Let me tell you what. I've been a basketball player my whole life. And if you try to see me on a cheerleading mat, ain't pretty. Tried to do a high kick one time. Yeah, that's what it ended in. Pants all ripping and everything. But everybody thinks, oh no, it's so easy. I'm like, believe me, it's not. Here, take a look. Everybody's over here going, oh Lord. But no, there's some things we are going to talk about today. But there are three things I want you to do. There's three. Y'all can do that for me. Number one, I want you to learn today. I want you to understand of what is going on. There's some things that we're going to talk about today that's going to be one of the hardest topics. So I want you to try to understand, but also just learn from that. And the third thing is, I really want you to be vulnerable today. My 2019 goal for this year was to be vulnerable. And I think that's one of the hardest things that a human being could ever do. But vulnerability is power. Y'all agree with me on that? So can y'all do those three things for me? Good, because I'm nervous just like y'all up here. Because everybody's staring at me going. But I will show you what we'll be talking about today. First one, what is the history and progress of LGBTQ athletes? We're going to talk about some of the history that has sparked and trend and the progress that has happened in the sports environment. Because, growing up in the 70s, 80s, 90s, you're not going to see a lot of LGBTQ athletes. So it's basically in a heterosexual world that we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about some of the people today. I have one friend up here. Bree, can you raise your hand? She is a Vandy basketball player. She has been, she's retired now. But she has been a big, huge asset to the LGBTQ community. She's been studying LGBTQ health, am I correct? Mental health. And so that is something that is a big asset in our community, which is something that we are going to talk about a little bit. And then we're going to talk about some of the issues, negative perceptions, and stereotypes. I just gave you one just earlier. How can you even be gay and play basketball? Believe me, there's a lot of stereotypes that are presented in the athletic field today. Okay, this is where y'all get to participate. This is going to be a discussion question that we're going to talk about. Do you think there's a reputation of athletes, coaches, and administration in the sports field of being unfriendly to others in the LGBTQ community? This is something y'all get to answer, because this could be a yes, this could be a no. Y'all get to figure that out today. Then we get to talk about the debate, the emphasis on trans athletes in sports. This is going to be one of the hardest topics that we do talk about. So some of the statements that I do make today, they're going to be kind of hard. They're going to be rough edge. But I want you to have an open mind when it comes to our trans brothers and sisters in our community. And then one of the biggest problems, my coworker actually told me to talk about this. And it's not just in the LGBTQ community, it's in our straight community too. We have a masculinity problem. We don't know the difference between masculinity and femininity. Then we're going to talk about how many of you are allies today. How many allies do we have here? Good. That makes me happy. That actually, honestly, makes me the happiest, because where I'm from, we don't really have a lot of allies. But we're going to be talking about the allies. Why are they important to the LGBTQ athlete community, but the whole community as well? And then the biggest part, what can you do as part of the LGBTQIA community to prevent some of these issues? Sounds pretty good. Let's get started then. Okay, so the first one, in 1975, the Washington Post, they decided to do a 4-part series on homosexual men and women in sports. This is something that is huge, because now a visibility level is coming on play. People are like, oh wow, there's actually gay athletes. Remember, at this time, having homosexual sex is illegal at this time. Remember that. But now we have the gay game. How many of y'all have heard of the gay games? Man, none of y'all. So the gay games is something that happens every 4 years. It's kind of like the Olympics, and they hold it different years, just like the Olympics do. But the cool thing about it was the largest sporting event in 1990. Think about this. Having it back then is a big difference to having it today, because a visibility back in 1990 is going to be very low compared to today. But that's when CBC airs a special called The Last Closet. So Last Closet was based out of Canada. 2 athletes never come out. They're big, predominant sports figures in Canada, and they decided to tell their stories of them living in the closet. And it doesn't really pick up at first in the United States. In Canada, it gets huge, but now it starts to see, hey, look, we're having more of a visibility level with gay athletics now. So it starts to be on the rise, which the World of the Gay Athlete special gets aired on ESPN. How many of y'all watch ESPN? Man, y'all need to watch some sports. My gosh, this is breaking my heart. Oh my gosh, I thought my rainbow tie was about to turn black and white. Oh my gosh. But no, so the World of Gay Athlete is basically talking about 4 different stories of gay athletes coming out. One of them was David Gobey, that played for Washington Redskins. He decides to come out this time after retiring. And then it talks about the saddest thing about a Pennsylvania athlete who decides to become an athlete, but he kills himself. So this becomes a lot of saying, hey, these LGBTQ athletes have mental health, like they're going through suicide. This is something that needs to be talked about. And this is where my article was posted at. This is called Out Sports. So they devote to sports news and gay sports for all of you. So anything you want to know about gay sports, they will bring that up, which is really great, because now it's like, hey, look, I have a safe space to talk about LGBTQ athletics now on the internet. Now, this is something I did not like. Remember her name. She's a little witch. Because I promise you, she is. Her name is Renee Portland. She was the women's coach for Penn State University. At that time, she had an anti-lesbian policy with her basketball team. And it was to the point where one of her former players sued her. But she decided to quit right after 2003 because they started their first ever student athlete group eliminating homophobia. This is when Renee Portman comes in and says, I'm not going to have any lesbians on my team, but this is where Pat steps up and says, no, we're not going to let that happen. But now, the NCAA initiates sexual orientation issues in sports, and it's no cost. Still, that they use it today, it's more of a practice that now all NCAA members have to use now. But now it comes to a point where, hey, you can take these classes and do this, and it becomes more of a visibility level for administration and everything in athletics. But that's when, does anybody know what IOC is? Yeah, they are the International Olympic Committee. They decide to let trans athletes come and be in events. Big, huge step in trans athletes today. But now, it comes to the question of, how are we going to talk about this? What are we going to do? This is still a taboo subject in athletics. And that's where Miles Brand comes in and says, we need to talk about discrimination in collegiate athletics. He was a big part of University of Oregon's athletics as well. He taught a lot of diversity and inclusion classes as well, and then got promoted to executive director to the point where he was like, let's talk about this issue. Let's make sure that we can eliminate this homophobia. But then GLSEN decides, you know what? We've gone through the Olympic Committee. We've gone through the college. What about the high school level? So GLSEN, which is the Gay, Lesbian, Straight Education Network, if some of y'all want to know, they make a project focusing on physical education to make it safe, reliable, respectful, and accessible for all students. Now we're starting to see the whole picture. Now we're not just getting to college athletics, we're getting to high school athletics as well. But now, 2011, the biggest year in college athletics. The It Gets Better video. How many of y'all have seen this? Or how many of y'all have heard the organization It Gets Better? This is where it started, right here. But they also do it for LGBTQ athletes as well. And so you see all the teams that got promoted, and now they're showing this. Now it becomes more of a visibility level for now coaches. Now they're doing it for fans. Then we have a transgender policy that comes into play. Finally, we are talking about transgender athletes. This is something that is, like I said, very, very huge. But now, we have high school, now we have college, now we have the major leagues that come in and adopt non-discrimination policies at that time. Basically, they're coming in saying, hey, if you're going to make homophobic language, anything like that, we want you out. But that's when Athlete Ally is launched as well. But this is my favorite one. GLSEN teams up with NBA. How many of y'all have seen Think Before You Speak? How many of y'all remember this? So Grant, I watched this the other day, it was really funny. Grant Hill, how many of y'all know who Grant Hill is? He's a famous NBA basketball player, really one of the best players you'll ever see. It's nice that a big time NBA player steps up and says, we need to stop homophobia now. Because now people are like, oh wow, the sports icon is doing this right now. But Grant Hill just steps up and makes a commercial with GLSEN, and the guy said, one of the kids on the conversation says, oh, that's gay. And Grant Hill just says, no, not in my house. And just basically explains why homophobia is terrible in sports. And it was actually one of the best commercials of this year, in 2011. Anybody know who this is? This is Miss Billie Jean King. She will be in Los Angeles soon. She's throwing the first pitch at the Los Angeles Dodgers game, and she is a co-owner of the Los Angeles Dodgers, if anybody knew that. But she's a really good tennis player. I'll give you that. But she's the first prominent female athlete to come out, and she started Billie Jean King Leadership Initiative, and talks about inclusion in workplaces, is what the initiative is. Because Billie Jean King saw that women's rights were not going well at the time that she was playing tennis. So she decides, hey, I want to make a statement that goes out and says, hey, anything a man can do, a woman can do. So she decides to face Mr. Bobby Riggs. Does anybody remember this match, or anybody remember this? Yes. Over 90 million people watched this. Think about this. This is, in the 70s. 90 million people watching this across the world. It's a lot for a sports event. But she ends up beating him. sends a message to all women athletics, which a year after, Title IX was passed.
Yeah.
But we also have other athletes that have helped as well. Michael Sam, he is the first NFL player to publicly come out actively. A good friend of mine knows him at the University of Missouri as well. Came out to his teammates August 2013. And one of the biggest things he was scared of was, oh crap, I'm out. I'm a really good football player. My dream is to go to NFL. How am I going to do that? That's going to be really hard. Well, 7th round of the NFL draft, he gets picked. And usually gay athletes at this time are just like, it's still a taboo subject, but it ends up being the second best rookie jersey behind, if y'all know who Johnny Manziel is. Yeah? Some of y'all are like, when is it going to be done? But he finally gets drafted, and even Barack Obama sends a message saying, hey, thank goodness for the NFL, the St. Louis Rams to step up and say, hey, thank you for allowing inclusion and diversity to come on your football team now, which is a huge step. And then we have one of my favorites. This is Mr. Jason Collins. He is the first openly gay athlete to play in an American major sport. And then he came out April 29, 2013 on a Sports Illustrated article. He was at the point where he had been playing for about 5 or 6 NBA teams. And he was just like, you know what, I'm 34 years old. I'm on free agency. I'm ready to come out. I'm ready to do this. This has been for a while. And which about a year after he retires at this point. But, smart man, went to Stanford. He is somebody that has been a huge, huge leader in the athletic community as well. He still goes speaks around the nation of his experiences in the NBA as well. And then we have Keelan Goodsey. Keelan Goodsey is the first openly transgender athlete to compete for a spot on the United States Olympic team. Funny part is, to get into Bates College, she was scared of being part of the trans community, so she actually took cello lessons and got into Bates College because of it. But then she's like, you know what? I'm also very good at athletics. I'll give it a try. She ends up being really, really good. She sets the NCAA Division III record for a hammer throw. And then, we're not just going to talk about the athletic field. We need to talk about what happens behind the scenes as well. We need to talk about the marketers, the presidents, anything like that, even human resources. These are people in sports administration. And one of them is Mr. Rick Welts. He is a really, really good friend of mine. He is the president of the Golden State Warriors, and he's the first prominent American sports executive to come out. How many of y'all have heard the NBA All-Star Weekend? Heard of it? Yeah. Okay. Well, without him, we wouldn't be having that. So, he is somebody that is on the You Can Play advisory board. How many of y'all have heard You Can Play? It's a campaign to fight homophobia as well. And then we have Mike Muska. This is somebody that people don't really know about as much. But he's the first openly gay athletic director in the United States to come out. Finally went to Oberlin College as an athletic director. But with all that, he got outed. His own college newspaper called the Oberlin Chronicle. And it became to a point where Mike was, very upset, didn't know what to do at the time, almost quit actually. But he decided to step up and say, no, I'm going to keep my homosexuality as a part of me and put it on the athletic field as well. Something that was really, really tough for him, but he ended up being one of the best athletic directors in the nation. Okay, second thing, we're going to talk about the perceptions, the stereotypes, and the issues that we face in athletics today. And this is where y'all get to help me today. This is the question that we have. Do you think there is a reputation of athletes, coaches, and administration in the sports field of being unfriendly to others in the LGBTQ plus community? So this is where y'all get to decide, is there a reputation of it? No, there's not a reputation of it. So, does anybody want to open up a discussion?
Well, I'd say yes, there is, especially in the small kids' sports. The Pee-wee, and I'm thinking of Pee-wee football in particular, and how they talk to those young boys.
Okay. What do y'all think? So she said, yes, there is. Does anybody else agree with that?
Don't let me stand by myself.
There's definitely a reputation.
Yeah, there's a reputation in Atlanta where I live. Terrence White came out and was talking to high schools about you don't want to be gay and things like that. Pro ball player doing that. So that's the perception I have of a lot of what would be most likely to happen.
Yeah.
Particularly for men in sports.
where there's more stigma than women in sports.
Doesn't it happen often too when the coaches are parents rather than professionally trained?
Ain't that the truth? Golly.
I'm a parent, so I think it's really important to educate parents, particularly, on like she said, in the TV roles, because those frames of mind get set really, really early. Parents have a big role to play in that.
Yeah. Somebody else have anything?
Being unfriendly doesn't mean just outward actions. It can just mean not interacting with someone, which is an action in itself.
Yeah.
Or the thoughts you have in your head.
Yeah.
Like I said, sometimes saying nothing can be the real problem with that. Okay. So many of y'all say yes. You want to raise your hand? Okay. How many of y'all think no, there's not? Okay. You're going to be very, very surprised. You're both right. Yes, there is a reputation of it, but is there also progress being made? Absolutely. By the International Olympic Committee, by the NCAA, to high schools everywhere, there's starting to be more of a reputation now. The athletics now is starting to be more friendly. But, like she said earlier, it's how you educate it. And that's something that we will talk about. Perfect. We're actually going to talk about this. I didn't even know. It's all about three things. One of them is going to be your visibility level. Okay, something I've brought up a lot. How you guys see, how I put this? My visibility level in Arkansas is going to be a little bit different from a town of 60 compared to New York City, because New York City has a high LGBTQ population, whereas my little town of 60 in Arkansas, and yes, I am from a town of 60. It was 61 until I moved. I was ready to get out. But I got to a point where it's like, there's no LGBTQ. There's none. There's none at all. So the visibility level, there's not a lot to deal with. But now it also goes off past perceptions and or stereotypes. The biggest reason why, I'm going to give you an example. My mother is somebody that has been trying to come around ever since I came out. And she used to say, oh, well, gay people cause a lot of drama. Well, do you have data to back that up? Well, no, these lesbians at work one time they were just causing a lot of drama and everything. So she got that perception, she got that stereotype. So she's like, this is what I get off from people in the LGBTQ plus community. And then we have this one, religious affiliations. So everything's gonna be a little bit different from an Assembly of God standpoint, where I grew up, and where homosexuality, you're going to hell for it. Don't get me started on that. But with that being said, with the religious affiliations, so Campus Speak put out a list of colleges that do not make the mark for inclusive and a diverse campus. So basically, like some of these colleges, they are allowed to discriminate you by your sexual orientation. How many of y'all see schools up here that y'all know of? The funny part is most of these schools are either, number one, around from where I live at in Arkansas, number two, where my college town is in Kansas, and number three, around here. There's two schools in red, Abilene Christian University and Liberty University. Can y'all take a guess the similarity between these two schools? Let's see if y'all know.
Well, I know they both are in the South, and isn't Liberty over on the East Coast?
Yes, it is. Here, I'll tell you, because this is going to be really hard. They were both in the NCAA basketball tournament this year.
Oh.
And the rest of you, this side's over here going, okay, who cares? But the funny part is, if you don't think homophobia still happens, even at the NCAA level, little news about UC Irvine's coach calling one of the Oregon players a queen, making sexist and homophobic comments about it, and just laughing about it after. So we still have that in the NCAA today. But now, so what does it look like for LGBTQ high school athletes? So now we have 52.8%, we have 32.5%, and 22.8%. And usually when people see statistics, they're like, oh, it's not that bad, but this is how I see it. How many of y'all have kids, nephews, nieces, people you love, right? Man, y'all don't? Golly. Golly, we need Sister Sledge to come in here and say, we are family. I see it like this. So I have 7 beautiful nieces and nephews, and they are my life. And it gets to a point where I'm meant to realize that half of my nieces and nephews are going to be harassed in a PE locker room. Something that I do not ever want to happen, because I promise you this, one of my nephews and nieces is going to come out at some point. But I don't want them to go through the same harassment that I went through in a locker room. And that's what our goal should be is today. This is why we're here, am I correct? But this is just not on the high school level as well. It is also on the college level. So with harassment, 43% of them playing favorites, 42% being ignored or excluded, 64% is going to occur in practice, and 28% is going to be in competition. I remember walking down playing an opponent, and the guy comes over and says, hey, I got this guy. And then one guy says, hey, I got this faggot right here.
Oh.
I don't care, because guess what? I scored on his butt. I scored right on him. But still, it still sucks, because it's like, this just happened 3 years ago, y'all. Just 3 years ago. And we still, and like I said, it's more of a, oh, it's whatever, boys will be boys. No, that's not how it should go, which is something we will talk about, which is what brings me up. Okay, so with sport, just because you think you play a masculine sport does not mean you are masculine. So I got a tennis ball, I got a volleyball. Which one do y'all think this is more masculine? Which one, tennis ball or volleyball?
Volleyball.
You want to know the answer to it? Who cares? It's a sport. It shouldn't be based on masculinity and femininity at all. Because each sport is tough. You don't believe me? Ask my ripped jeans when I did a high kick. And so we have to break those barriers down. Because this is one topic I'm definitely going to say. We see a lot of emotions that happen in athletics. How many of y'all have gotten mad, sad when it comes to different parts of your life? It happens, okay? I think it's really funny that when men yell, they get cheered for it. But when a woman cries, oh no, it's a sign of weakness. She's being too emotional. No, men cry too, shoot. But it gets to a point where is based off cultural expectations. Is we are expected for women to be this side of weakness, for them to cry and everything, and men's supposed to be this masculine. We have to break those barriers down, people. If we don't, our kids are going to be doing the same thing. A lot of my kids that I work with the Salvation Army, they'll come in and be like, Mr. Nate, don't do that. I'm like, why? It's like, because that's like a girl. And I said, well, what's the definition of doing that? And they'll go, yeah. But we have to break those barriers down, y'all. This is why we're here. Then we're going to debate on our trans brothers and sisters. I don't really say the word trans community. I usually will say my trans brothers and sisters in our community, because they should have the equal opportunity to play athletics, like we all should. I made this comment one time, and somebody got really offended, but I will tell you this. Anybody in the LGBTQ plus community, they are the biggest minority. And that's where white, gay men, and white, straight males need to step up. We need to step up and look out for our trans brothers and sisters in our community. So, this is a map that y'all can see. So with this, in the red, it requires a birth certificate or surgery or a hormone wait period for people in athletics. That's tough. I want to let you know that having surgery as a trans athlete is very, very difficult, because you have to do surgery, then you have recovery time, and it's just like, people won't have the access to play those sports. But these are the states that are allowed to do that. One of them is my home state, of course. How many of y'all live in one of these states or from one of these states? Yeah. Like I said, there is still a policy where now legislative is trying to reverse that, where it is case by case now. But one of the bills that has been stopping that just got discontinued was SB 49. It will restrict participation in high school athletics by birth certificate. So basically, if I come to you right now and I said, hey, I really want to play, here's my birth certificate. They're basically going to look at you and say, no, you can't play. But now the NCAA has made guidelines for that. That's something we will be talking about. But these are stereotypes that get presented. This is the first one.
Mm-hmm.
If you would have met me probably about 3 years ago, I probably would have told you I agree with this statement. But like I said, that's where visibility level comes in. That's where these past stereotypes and perceptions come in, and we break those down. Because I will tell you this is where we need to stand up for our trans brothers and sisters in our community. I will always emphasize that. Because they're a big, big minority. And let me tell you what, a lot of trans people, sorry, my trans brothers and sisters, in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, some of them are the reason why we have this conference today. Second one is being born with a male body automatically gives a transgender woman an unfair advantage when competing against non-transgender women. A lot of stereotypes with this as well. People are like, oh no, this person's going to cheat, this person's going to do this. Which brings us to this third stereotype. Men might be tempted to pretend to be transgender in order to compete in competition with women. It's another stereotype that the NCAA, and like I said, this is based off the NCAA guidebook. So if you ever want to check that out, go online and look at it. It's really great. But they present these stereotypes. But I want to tell you this. Nobody knows truly how it feels to be part of the trans community until you are one. And I'll tell you this, taking hormones is not easy. Having surgery is not easy. Something that we have to understand as a whole community. Okay, now I'm going to let y'all read this. This is the NCAA Transgender Athlete Guidelines of what has to happen. So if you are competing with testosterone, you can compete on a men's team. Okay? But a trans female, she can compete on the men's team, but what does it say compete? Sorry, that's to say may not compete on the women's team. That's my bad. Yeah. May not. Okay? Until completing 1 year of testosterone. That is the rule for all trans athletes now. And so the NCAA, and like I said, this is still an issue going on today in the trans athlete community of, hey, do we need to switch this? Do we need to switch this? So this is still updating today. So what can we do though to help that? Number one, we need to provide opportunities for all trans athletes, equal opportunities. Second thing is we need to value the diversity. This is why, I remember one day I did not know anything about trans athletes, and I went to a conference and went, there were classes I wanted to take and do this and do this. And I was like, no, I need to learn about my trans brothers and sisters in the athletic field. So I decided I'm going to take all these classes for how long was it? 10 hours. Let me tell you what, the same look that y'all give me sometimes, I was doing the same thing there because I'm like, oh my gosh, this is a whole new world. But it helped open up my eyes why they need to be treated with diversity. We need to have more inclusion with that. And then with that, we need to establish a healthy policy. Also, this is a big one. Please, for God's sakes, use corrective language. I know one of my friends didn't want to be described as he or she, so they were like, you can just say. I was like, really? So use corrective language. Just talk to them. Be honest with them. That's something that you could definitely do as someone in the LGBTQ community, even if you don't understand. But now we get to go into straight allies. How many allies do we have here again? Good. So one of the biggest things when I go to Pride and I go speak is when straight allies come and bring their kids. Honestly, it's the number one thing that will make me cry. Because it's so nice to see people come out and just say, hey, like, I support you, I love you, you have a home. That's something that I never really got taught when I was little, is having allies. And I mean, we'll talk about that a little bit of the last stereotype. But an ally is somebody that supports equal civil rights. We have somebody with gender equality. And then we have LGBT social movements. But let's get to the real point. There's somebody that cares. Allies, the biggest thing you could ever do is just be there for somebody, because you win half the battle right there, just being there. You are very, very important to our community. You have no idea. But you also get to challenge homophobia and transphobia. I remember one of my friends, her mom would always say, oh, you're being, he's being a faggot, he's doing this. And he finally says, she says, why are you saying that language? That's not okay. what, are you gay? No, it's because I'm calling you out, because it's not okay. So I love it when people in the ally community get to stand up for that. But straight eyes are important. How? Because they may not understand. Some of you are not going to understand some of the struggles that have happened. But you being there is, you basically win the whole battle right there, in my opinion. Because you're just being there. Somebody that truly 100% does not understand, but gets to be there. This is something that I really want to emphasize. When you come out, how many of y'all raise your hand? If you think coming out is one of the hardest things that you'll ever do in your life, raise your hand. It's hard. Especially whenever you, for example, have to grow up in a religious household. It's going to be really hard. But when somebody comes out to you, that means that you do matter. You are valuable. You are loved. And without you, we wouldn't have some of the rights that we have today. But what can you do, though? Number one, find your purpose. Find out what is it that tears you that can help you build that up. Number one, so I'm going to be really, really personal with all of you today. Something I've actually never told a crowd. At the age of 21, I was sexually assaulted by a man. And I've seen a lot of people talk about, sexual assault and everything, but I never understood it until it really happened. And it got to a point where I had to use my tragedy and use it as a testimony. That's why I'm standing here today. But I had to find purpose. What am I going to do to stop sexual assault? And this is what happened. But now we have to break down those stereotypes. I want to tell you the last stereotype that I got. The biggest one I've ever gotten in my entire life. I remember I walked into church, my old church, after coming out for about 4 months, and one of them says, "What is he doing here?" But it wasn't just them. My mom and dad decided at age 16 they would send me to a gay conversion therapist. And the same lady told me that. She's like, God's not going to ever love you if you're gay. He's not going to love anybody if you're part of this community, because it's a bunch of sex, lies, drama. That's all there is. But that's where we have to stand up for what is right. We can't let our past control our future, Like today, do I still have a problem with my homosexuality and in the church? Absolutely I do. But at the same time, I have to stand for what is right, Like my kids saying, "Oh, that's so gay." No, that's not okay. You don't need to be saying that. Even if it hurts somebody, you need to stand for what is right. Number 4, how many young people we have here today? If you're under the age of 25, you're about my age. Please, for God's sakes, vote. Please. Number 6, be a light. And then, I did not put on this, but stop the bleeding. I'm going to share something with y'all that I wrote the other day of what I mean by stop the bleeding. Sometimes we think, the people in, MAGA hats are the ones that are hurting us in our community. No, it's our own community. So I'll give it to you right now. So here's the T. This could offend you, but make you think, to help you understand, open up your eyes, and get you in sync. Because we have a problem with LGBT inclusion. And we may think it's the people in a MAGA hat, or the people that don't vote as Democrat. But no. It's more than that. It's our own community. Because everybody thinks we are a community of love, acceptance, and equality, but many of us go for the quantity instead of the quality. What I mean is our community is divided, people. Divided to the point where we aren't inclusive, where most of the gay friends that you'll see are very exclusive. And no, I'm just not talking about the national gay bars. I'm not talking about that. It's a world thing. It's not just here, it's in our whole society that makes people fall into depression, thoughts of suicide, and anxiety. Don't believe me? Just ask the people around like me who think they will never be enough, so they try to find it off of gay dating apps like Grindr, Tinder, and Scruff. I don't blame them. Because I was in that very same position long ago. Walking through bars, trying to find acceptance for other guys, even if it meant it was part of the drama and the lies. But soon, people, I was losing a part of who I am. But some of you have been down this road before. But now is the time to be the change, not just be a part of it, and to be more. So please, stop depleting our community. That's what it means. Because there is so much that all of you can do, and my hope is today that it doesn't happen to any one of you. I'm going to conclude you with this. I don't know how much time we have left. I'm going to conclude with this. This is not my notes. This is something that happened this morning, actually. Remember I told you all about my parents sending me to gay conversion therapy? My mom has been one of the most homophobic people I have ever had in my whole entire life. And it really broke my heart to see her do what she did. Even when I came out, she basically didn't want to have anything to do with me at first. People, she texted me today saying, "I'm so proud of you for speaking today." 3 long years later. 3 long years. So if you don't think change can happen, it can. I promise you. Change takes a while, it does. And it's really, really hard. I will tell you that. But that was one of the things that really, really hurt me today. I know a lot of you have been hurt because our community is a hurting community. It is. There's a lot of people, like I said, I told you about my sexual assault. I told you about why to go through gay conversion therapy. A lot of us have been hurt. Remember the last thing I told you all to do today? I told you all learn, understand. What was the third one? You remember?
Be vulnerable.
Be vulnerable today.
Right.
I want you to do one last favor for me. Could everybody close their eyes, please? I want everybody to just close their eyes. This is going to be just between me and you today. Won't go anywhere else. Think about a time that you were hurt. Think about a time that you were hurt. Could be by someone else. Could be by something that happened in your life. Because we've all been hurt. I'm going to read off some things. And if you've been hurt by this, raise your hand. Everybody please keep their eyes closed out of due respect. If you've been hurt by any type of homophobia, any type of sexism, racism, any thoughts of suicide, someone who has sexually assaulted you, but also if you've been brokenhearted, if you've been rejected, you've been bullied, if you didn't feel like you were good enough, or any type of abuse, verbally, physically, mentally, emotionally. I want everybody to keep their hands raised just to see. Okay, you can all put your hands down now. Close it. Open your eyes. We have a lot more common than we do different. Most all of you raised your hand today. But I will tell you this. I can be gay, I can play basketball. You know why? Because I love my sports a lot, and I will fight for it, even if I'm gay, straight, black, white, Christian, Muslim, it does not matter. Y'all need to do the same thing in your life as well. Because my trans brothers and sisters, they can play athletics. They are real women. They are real men. And we will keep fighting for our trans brothers and sisters. I hope none of you ever believe this in your life. I know I don't really try to talk about religion on college campus because I know it can be really iffy, but whether it's a Christian God, Muslim God, Buddha God, God does love you. And if you don't think God doesn't love you, the people around you love you as well. You are supported. You are in a safe space right now and you are loved. Okay? And we will get to the point where we will always be fighting. I'll tell you one last quick story. So whenever I was 16, this is something I have not told in a very, very long time, I decided, at the time, I didn't know who I was. I didn't know what I was going to do with my life. I didn't really care. So I thought, nobody loves me. I decided to take my own life. Well, I decided to go up to the cliff, look down, and I fell. I remember waking up and, I remember waking up and I didn't know what happened. I didn't know what was going on. And I just stood there. I said, I don't know what to do. And I just cried out. And I know some of you are not Christian here. I know some of y'all don't believe that, which is perfectly fine, because this is an open environment for everybody today. I remember I just cried out. I said, if you can really help me and not fall, then I will try to do my best to live for you and live my authentic life that I am. And I remember, guess what? I thought both of my legs were broken. I got the right hell up and walked. Something I do not. Something I wish, I never thought that would happen. I thought I would not live. I'm surprised I'm still here today speaking, but there's a reason why I am here today. I know everybody's in here like, the best thing you could ever do in your life is being your true, authentic self every day. Something that is hard for other people to do, even in the straight community. It is. But I always tell people this. If you live your true and authentic self every day, then you win in life. Because love will always win, people. Remember that. Be strong and be proud of who you are every day. Never forget that. Because remember, love will always win, even in athletics. Thank you.